Well, if you thought yesterday's R. Kelly interview was disturbing, that was just the beginning. Welcome to Access Live. Natalie's on assignment for the Today Show. Here we go.
Here we go. We saw R. Kelly talking about how he doesn't have the money for child support. Well, he was taken into custody yesterday and remains in jail for failing to pay more than $160,000 in child support.
Well, it's the second time in just 2 weeks that he's been behind bars. But today what we're going to do is we're going to bring in right now, everybody's talking about this interview, body language of both R. Kelly and his girlfriends, what everybody's talking about. The foremost body language expert and psychotherapist, Stacy Kaiser, is with us. Good morning, Stacy.
Good morning.
We should also say you worked on the documentary Surviving R. Kelly. Before we get to all this, is there a common theme you're seeing with all the survivors?
There is. I worked behind the scenes with the survivors, and one of the things that I discovered about most of them is they really love him. They loved him and they love him. And so even though he's hurt them and he's now arrested and they're glad about that, there is this pain inside of them and this longing because of how they feel about him.
We saw that very similarly with James Safechuck and Wade Robson.
Michael Jackson.
And it wasn't until that Oprah kind of brought up how you become complicit in your abuse, that you can trick yourself into believing the lie of, this is how love is shown, this is how I show love, this is how you reciprocate love by being a recipient of this abuse.
That's 100% correct, and I think there's an added component. R. Kelly, I'm told, when he's good, he's very, very good, and when he's bad, he's horrid. And so they attached to the good stuff. And it's almost like a slot machine or something in Las Vegas where it pays you and you think you're getting it, and so you keep holding out for the win, even though you're losing, losing, losing.
All right, well, let's take a look at more of R. Kelly's. He continued to go off about his ex-wife.
13 years being married. I flew in on a helicopter. I flew in on a helicopter.
Yes. Yes. Can somebody get us some tissue?
I don't want no tissue. I'm gonna leave.
No, you're doing well.
Look, man, look. I'm telling y'all. I flew in on a helicopter with a damn puppy, and I proposed to Drill, whom I was in love with, and told her, hey, look, I make mistakes, I'm not perfect. We got married, okay? We had 3 beautiful kids. Not once have I ever had a domestic violence call at the house and all this, that, and the other. It never happened.
R. Kelly talking about his ex-wife there. Just looking at his body language alone, looking around the room, his demeanor, what do you make of that?
Well, first of all, when people are lying, they aren't looking someone in the eye. And so to me, that's a strong sign of deception. The other thing that we're seeing, and we see this a few times when he's being interviewed, is he's shaking his head no when he's talking, which says, don't believe me, don't believe what I'm saying.
Really?
And the last thing that I really see in this clip is this is a guy who's scared. He's literally pleading for his life. If you could imagine someone who had a firing squad in front of them and they'd be on their knees and their arms would be flailing and they'd be saying, please, please. And he doesn't want the tissue because he doesn't want to stop the flow of tears. He wants us to see.
To believe that these tears are real if I wipe them away.
Yes.
And it also seemed like he was maybe trying to figure out what he was going to say next.
100%. Right? You can see him searching when a person starts to look back. They're searching in the back of their mind. And part of what we're seeing, I think this is a combination of real tears for himself. He's sad that he thinks he's actually in trouble now. And then I also think it's manipulative tears for the audience. Like, don't give me a tissue because I need to keep putting on my show.
And what about only talking about the positive? He's talking about with the helicopter and the puppy.
And the puppy.
I call that R. Kelly's highlight reel. He has to go back 20 years to come up with something nice he's done with his ex-wife. So he can say, I did great stuff, and she made a choice to be with me, so this can't be true.
All right, well, R. Kelly's ex-wife, Andrea, tells a pretty different story of their marriage in the Lifetime docuseries Surviving R. Kelly. She described a pretty tumultuous relationship.
In the documentary, she says she went to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and on the list of 17 questions about abuse, she claims there were only 2 that R. Kelly hadn't done to her. Here's when Gayle asked her about that.
Is Andrea not telling the truth when she said she was abused by you? Is she not telling the truth?
Absolutely. She's not telling the truth. I love her to death. I have nothing against her still. That is my kid's mother.
She's making that up.
If you
why?
notice one thing...
Why is she making that up, Robert?
I'm not disrespecting her by saying she's not telling the truth. I'm just being honest. Somebody sent me something on my phone and it said that I hog-tied her. I don't know how to hog-tie people. What would I hog-tie? My kids is listening to this, all of this nonsense, and I ain't been able to spend no time with them. This is real. This is not a lie. What kind of woman will tear down a dad who's trying to have a relationship with their kids? You know how many kids need a relationship with their father?
What is your relationship with your children?
Oh, my God.
What is your relationship with your children?
Zero.
Zero.
But I know my kids love me. And I'm in love with my kids. I love my kids.
Stacy, I don't know where to begin on this clip. Maybe we start with the tie loosening.
He's having a hard time sitting in his own skin. It's really hard to be him today. And so that's part of why you're seeing that kind of movement. The other thing I want to point out is how he's kind of hiding. What he's trying to say to us is, I don't want you to look at me right now, because he is upset. He really, truly does believe that he's in trouble. He's not saying, I don't want you to look at me in a way of like, I'm a bad man. He's saying, I don't want you to look at me because I'm a mess right now. And this is not how we typically see R. Kelly, right? This is a guy who walks with confidence. Right. This is a man who really thinks he's in trouble. And as I said earlier, he's pleading for his life, and there's a lot of that in this clip.
Andrea, in the documentary that you also worked on, she talked about the 17 questions, and some of the questions are pretty, I mean, it's pretty intense. Are you insulted, demeaned, or embarrassed, and receive put downs? Does he look at you or act in ways that scare you, stop you from seeing your friends or family members, make all the decisions without your input or consideration or needs, destroy your property, or threaten to kill your pets? I mean, the things that are on this list are pretty clear signs of you being in an abusive relationship.
And a lot of control.
Yes, but part of what we see in people who are narcissistic like this, I haven't met R. Kelly, but I believe he's narcissistic, he's sociopathic, is they believe their own tale. And he's had people around him supporting him, who have helped him, who have been complicit in really making these women be abused. Yeah. And so that sort of feeds the beast of what I am doing is okay because I'm me. And I love these people, and I also buy them nice gifts.
And they love me back, right?
Yes.
Gayle also talked to the two women who live with R. Kelly at his Chicago home, 23-year-old Joycelyn Savage and 21-year-old Azriel Clary. They tearfully spoke out in his defense, actually.
What is your relationship, both of you, with R. Kelly?
We're with him. That's our relationship.
We're with him. Yeah, that's what it is.
And we're in a relationship with him.
Right.
You just said it.
A very strong relationship as well.
Both of you?
Yes, most definitely.
You know, how do we say this without being inappropriate? Is this a three-way relationship, or do you each have a separate relationship with him? How does this work?
Well, both
I'm
of
curious.
those.
Yeah.
We both have our individual relationships with him, and we all are family all together. We have our moments where we sit and watch movies all together. We go to amusement parks all together.
I'm not talking about Azriel going to movies and sitting watching, going to parks. I'm talking about, is it a three-way sexual relationship?
Sexually? Well, first of all, I'm not here to talk about my personal life, and I would never share with no one what I do in or outside of the bedroom. And as a woman, I'm sure you would not either.
Yes. No, I wouldn't, but
okay, then. So,
no, you're
next
right.
question.
No, you're right. I would not, but this is a very different circumstance.
It's not a different circumstance. There are people all over the world who have multiple girlfriends. It's no different.
Do both of you all believe you're in love with him?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Of course.
All right, let's start, first of all, with the young ladies' outfits. What does that say?
I think that they were really well put together. Somebody helped them put themselves together, help them get poised, and wanted them to look, you know, sort of official and like they're well taken care of, and they're wearing expensive clothing.
Did it strike you odd, the tone that they were talking to Gayle in? She seemed to be I mean, I get it. It's a personal question when you start talking about your sex life and how you relate to your significant other. But did it seem odd the way that they came back at her?
They are super defensive and super angry, and they don't need to be if they don't have anything to hide. Yeah. And so when we see people get defensive like that so quickly, it tells me that they're trying to hide something. Now, here's part of what I think is sad about the clip with these young women. they believe what they're saying. I'm sure they do go to amusement parks.
Yeah.
They do good things with him. They do love him. And so they're doing these emphatic body language movements, like emphasis with their hands, emphasis with their head, because they mean it. They feel it. It's real for them. And a lot of the lines that they were spewing are things that they have learned to say.
I was going to say, it felt like coached to me.
Well, interesting, by the way, R. Kelly wasn't supposed to be in this interview. Gayle was told they would not be. He comes in during the interview, stood behind them, loudly coughing, so they knew he was in the room. The parents say brainwashed. Is it more control? Can you tell if somebody is brainwashed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of a combination. The control has made them believe something. It's a lot like what you hear happening in a cult, where they start to believe that this is what their life is and it becomes their real story because that's the story that it is for them. As far as part of what we're seeing with the parents and that kind of going against, I believe that R. Kelly has almost become their parent, so they don't need their parents anymore, and that's part of why they're rejecting them. And the fact that he came in the room, I sort of want to address that. Anyone that is a parent or a boss knows if you have to step in and watch someone doing their work, you don't trust them.
Right.
And so he's making sure that they stay in line by being in the room. And I also think he's so scared that they're going to blow his cover because, like I said, I think all this rage we're seeing is coming out of fear.
Yeah.
That he needs to make sure that they know he's there.
Well, the two parents of the two women claim R. Kelly has brainwashed their daughters and that they have proof that he had sex with them underage. And that here's what the women said about that.
Why would they want to lie about you, their daughter?
Okay, so when I first met Robert, my parents told me to lie about my age. So when I met him, he thought that I was 18. On top of that, when I was 17, my parents were actually making me, trying to get me to take photos with him, take sexual videos with him, all kinds of stuff.
Wait. Your parents encouraged you to do sexual videos with R. Kelly?
Yes. And they said because if they ever have to blackmail him, what they're trying to do now, they can use it against him, which is exactly what they're doing.
Joycelyn, I see you nodding a lot with what she's saying. Why are you nodding in agreement with what she's saying?
Because everything that she's saying is true. Our parents are basically out here just to get money.
Your father told a very different story to me last night.
Yeah, he's the manipulative. He's very manipulative, so he's the one you need to watch out for. But my dad and my mom, they started to send threats to both me and him. They said, oh, I'll put all your naked pictures all over the world. I'm going to ruin you. I'm going to ruin him. If he doesn't send $20,000 to this bank account by Monday, oh, I'm going to put everything out there and then $10,000 after that. You're trying to solicit me like I'm oh, I'm not. I'm your child.
Exactly.
Yeah, you sound very angry with your parents. You sound very angry and very pained. Tell me, Azrael, why you're crying. Tell me.
I'm crying because you guys don't know the truth. You guys believe in facade that our parents are saying. This is all lies for money. And if you can't see that, you're ignorant and you're stupid. Because you want to be. All because that's the world we live in. Negativity sells.
Exactly.
Gossip is what sells. Rumors are what sells.
Exactly.
But Joycelyn and Azrael, this is more than gossip. This is more than just rumors. These are decades of allegations against Robert Kelly.
We're not here to talk about decades. We're here to talk about what our parents are doing right now.
Right.
And what they're doing right now is all for money.
Right.
What do you make of that?
It feels like you're watching two little girls.
Right.
Who have no idea what is happening to them and why people are concerned about them react so emotionally.
Right, and I believe it's because they are believing what they're saying. They are being told that their parents are asking R. Kelly for money. They're being told that their parents are doing this for financial gain and for attention. They're being told all of these things and they believe it. Part of what they've sort of described is that this is their family now.
Right.
And people are super loyal and protective about their family, and that's what we're seeing. However, when we do see those ladies talk, some of the time they aren't able to keep eye contact with Gayle. And that tells me that they know they're lying. There's also some moments where they're sort of trying to defend themselves and their choices. And that's because they don't want to be looked at in a bad light. I mean, what do they look like if they believe and we believe that they've been fools to this man?
Right.
So they're needing to sort of assert the fact that they know what they're doing, they're totally aware and everything's wonderful, so that they can continue to, uphold the view that they have of themselves, which is that they're okay.
What about the anger against their parents? Especially saying at 17, you, mom and dad, put me in this situation.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know what happened in the beginning in terms of were the parents saying, oh, this could be a possible career for you?
Yeah.
I think that's totally possible. Are the parents doing some desperate things now trying to get their kids back? Yes. However, these are some of the moments when I saw her starting to look away and fish for information. It makes me think that she was trying to sort of remember the story that she's supposed to tell.
What's interesting, too, is to know that Gayle was on this morning talking about, she reached out to the camp, to R. Kelly's camp, and they said this is a great interview. They're pleased with the outcome of this interview. Does that surprise you?
Well, I think it's smoke and mirrors. I think they're pleased with the girls. But I certainly can imagine that they didn't think that R. Kelly was going to be as outrageous as he was.
Unhinged.
And so if they tell us that they're pleased with it, then the people that are following him will believe it.
It felt like he was talking to potential jurors.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like this, he was trying this case in public.
He is. That's part of what he's doing.
Stacy Kaiser, thank you so much. Really good stuff.